Welcome in, everyone. This is our weekly flow alerts recap for the week of 8/26 to 8/30. Today's 8/30. It's Friday, going into a Labor Day weekend. Not going to trade today, so we're getting the video out a little earlier. So we had a pretty big week. Flow was really good. First off, too, I want to remind everybody watching this, Unusual Whales is running a back to school sale until September 9th. I will have the link in the comments if you would like to sign up. Save 15% when you sign up, 20% when you upgrade. So let's get started here. We kind of have a lot of flow to go through. I'm going to try to do this as quick as possible. But first off, I do like to show, for those not in Discord here, just how I like to post the flow. Make it easy. Make it a little easier here. So from 8/26. So just to kind of show everybody too that it's being posted, I'm just not picking random flow. But here's all of our flow for the week. So August 26th, and I don't edit flow. I don't like to edit posts. So you can see all of our flow is here as well. Our ask side flow here. Little lighter bid side flow. I kind of stay away from that. ETF flow here. And then we did have some flow also that's not on this list, but from our hottest contracts list that we this was posted too. A lot of this was posted publicly. So let's get started here. I'm trying to make this as quick as possible, kind of go over the flow and kind of what stuck out, and we'll kind of go over the range of the contracts. So first up, we had CART, the 9/20/36.5 call. We've seen these come in here, and some of these whales are still in too. So again, do what you want with that information, but I'm just kind of going over the weekly move. So here's your entry for that whale, and I'm going to bump that net premium back a little bit. See that huge spike in that net call premium, and then we had another spike yesterday. So really interesting to see what happens with that there. But looking at the CART flow, getting good flow, can see that IV staying up. All ask side volume. And these did enter for about 125. They did hit 194 same day, so that's about a 55% return same day there for that. And it does look like this whale's still in as well. You can see that volume there carrying over and still holding there. So those CART the CART flow did run intraday 125 to 194, and again can see that in here where it hit that 194 there. So that's that same day. So moving on, next we had Zoom calls come in, and again, this longer term stuff is kind of tougher to do, especially if you have 500 days out. You're probably on a longer time frame. You're not looking for a move in 2 or 3 days, but this whale's sitting about break even right now. Whale's still in. Can see all that open interest still there. Take a peek at the flow. Again, good flow. IV stays up. All at the spot price being filled at that ask. So this one I would say obviously to be decided still on this one, but they're sitting about break even here. 622 was the entry, or 675 was the entry. About 622 it looks like it closed at. So to be determined, it's a long-term trade. So moving on here, we had RDFN on the 10/18/10 puts. So a nice little trade here, and it looks like this whale's still kind of in. We had this flow come in at 90 here and topping out at 145 yesterday. You can see that right here. So these running about 61%. Take a peek at the flow at the time. Down here. So again, 86.4. You can see that IV increasing. That significant spot price being filled at that ask on a wider spread too. Oh, let me come back here. coming back down. So yeah, I mean, you can see that IV coming up, which is a good sign. That spot price significantly on that ask side. Can consider that a buy, and we can see how, let's move this back too. So I mean, not a lot of net premium there, just some call net premium there, but significant nice little move there from 90 all the way up to 145, about 61% on those. And then we had the 913 237.5 Apple. Another good one for us. 103 was that entry. Again, you can see all that volume, and it looks like this whale could have passed these contracts off onto somebody else because only 500 carried over. So it looks like maybe somebody else bought those contracts. But looking at this, so your entry was 103. They hit a high of 258, 271 yesterday. We'll say 258. So about 150% on those if you took those. And these are all from the 26th, which was Monday. Just FYI. You can see that right in here. So those Apple calls, 103 to 258. And actually, let's take a peek at that flow quick. So again, nice flow, 2270, that IV staying up. Drops a little bit there, but you're still on that significant side of the ask there. That spot's being filled at the ask. Now, if it dropped a little bit towards the bid, I'd probably reconsider and not take something like that. But that spot's being filled at the ask, which is a good sign. And that net premium at the time as well for the 26, I mean, kind of flat, but it was picking up, and then obviously we're off to the races now. So PDD, this was after earnings. So here is that big whale that came in at 339, and these actually hit a high of 1120 on the 28th. So yes, or Wednesday. Days are a little messed up. Hitting 1120, that is a 230% return there. And again, looking at this at the time, here's your flow. Ivy was kind of all over here at the time, just with, this was after earnings, and PDD was down about 30%. But again, that ask side spot fill being there, and you can see it's majority on the ask side. And there was some other PDD flow that you can match in there as well. But, I mean, at the time, that net put premium was spiking, and getting a little call premium now, but still seeing that net put premium for PDD up, and it looks like a majority of this whale's probably still in as well, too. So up next, we have NEM, so 827 now we're looking at. 50 put, these came in at 142. Hit about 149. Again, little longer move here, 49 days out. Haven't made a huge move yet. Won't spend too much time on this just because we haven't seen an exit or anything. Whale's probably a little longer term. We had ATUS. Again, a nice trade for us. These 32 was their fill. Again, looking at that net call or the raw data here, good example. IV increase, exactly what I'm looking for. That spot price is increasing and it's staying at that ask, sign of a buyer that wants to get into a trade. We looked at the net call premium, huge spike on it on that day. Otherwise, I mean, we don't see a lot of volume on this one that is much. But these running from 32, and they hit 54 yesterday for high. So 68% on those ones for those that took that. And then we had a longer-term Mara trade, which sitting about break-even-ish. Looks like the whale's still in. So this one we had kind of an ask with some bid side on it. But again, kind of looking at the flow. When that comes in, you see that jump in that IV. That IV staying up, but you're still at that ask, and penny below there, not a huge breaker for me, just because you're seeing that ask side hit there on a little wider spread. So the Mara whale's still in about, just size-wise, you can see 15,000 traded on that day, all of that carrying over, it's still there. And looking at the net call premium, again, big spike there on the we're 27th, so it would be right here. That's your spike, and then we had a spike yesterday. Whale looks to still be in. Again, do what you want with this information. IWM, this was a good trade as well. These ran intraday. 2 was the fill on these, and these hit 287 same day. You can see that right there. So these running about 43% same day. Again, you don't have to hold as long as these whales do. You should always be adjusting up your stops and securing profits. Just because somebody lets something go negative after they're up 50%, that's probably not a good trade. But you should always be doing it yourself. So those IWMs did nice for us. So moving on to 828, we had KSS. This whale entered and exited the same day. Nice, perfect example here. So here is that volume on the 28th. So 6,200, remember that number. 3,000 on that candle. 3,000 on that candle. There's your 6,000, only 1,000 carrying over. So it looks like just that little amount there probably carried over. But this whale had these KSS puts from 60, and they sold them at 0.92 for about 53%. They did end up yesterday hitting about 145, which would have gave you 141%, but more than likely you're going to cut when you see this whale cut if you're following along. But 53% still good on a trade. And we have another longer term trade coming up here. CVNA, again, 77 days out. And this whale's up right now. Probably wouldn't chase this now. And a little bigger of a multi-leg trade there, but not horrible. So here's your volume coming in. Looking at that raw data again. $77.53. IV increasing. Pretty wide bid ask, and seeing that spot fill. Good sign there of somebody being aggressive. So these closed at about they hit about 510 yesterday, closing at 490-ish. Well, they're up about 13%, 13%. 77 days on those, again, longer time frame. And we had AA next. So again, another trade that moved intraday. So again, here's your whale entry at 48. Had some mid-side fills come in there, kind of based off the math here. Let's see, 6, so 7, about 10,000, we'll say. Majority of that carried over. I'm going to assume they probably filled just the mid there. Clearly they weren't exiting, because 48 to 56, I would have probably thought this was an exit, because that's a nice little return there. But it looks like that whale's still in, and contracts hit about 74, 77. So we'll go with 74 there, 74. So running about 0.49 to 0.74. Again, 51%. Good flow, awesome flow again. Looking at the time, let's go back 3 days. Huge spike in that net put premium, net call premium staying flat. So a firm, again, this one was kind of my fault. It overlapped earnings. I don't suggest playing earnings at all, but so I'm not going to dive too deep into this one, but 136, they hit a high of 575. 561-ish, so about 300% on those. Not going to count that one. I don't like to post earnings plays. That was just me missing and misreading a column on accident. And CLH, again, another nice one. Here's your whale entry at 33. They hit 54 same day, about 63% on those. And with this coming in over there, with all this here, kind of hard to tell what they're doing there, but it looks like a majority of that carried over. Could have been passing those off. Well, no, they wouldn't be passing those off because a lot of that carried over, but it probably could have took some profits there. But again, good trade there on NCLH, about 63%. So next up, we do have a good example of a whale exiting for a loss, which there's going to always be losing trades, can't help it. So perfect example here, 2,900 contracts traded at the ask. We see about 2,900 contracts come in here at the bid. Can see that volume there, so about roughly we'll say just 6,000, make it easy. Only 1,000 of that carried over. This whale exited the same day. 109 was their entry. They cut it 0.72, so they cut it at 33% loss. I don't like cutting it at a loss that big, but this is when that whale cut, so this is a nice tool to keep eyes on. If you are following the whale, you would see that volume there and could assume they are exiting, which looks like they obviously did. So next up we had a bid side GEV. So they were selling these puts, which means they are bullish to neutral on that. So here is that whale actually right here that came in. Opened those at 390. They're now sitting at, or they hit a low of 140 yesterday. So they collected about 64% of that premium. Remember, when you are selling calls or puts, they're selling to open a position. So if it dropped down to that 175, it's like 174.50-ish, they would have to buy them back at that. But their goal is to collect premium on that. They want those contracts to go to zero. So theta is their friend. So they collected about 64% of that premium there. Let's take a look at the float and see if it actually... So that IV stays up there. But yeah, you're seeing that bid side fill. They're not being aggressive on that at all. So moving on here, we have the 1220 MU 82.5 puts. So again, little longer term. Whale kind of down right now. Whale's down about 15%. They entered at, 565. Hitting about 470. They're down about 16%. Volume, let's take a peek at that. So again, kind of see that IV, I mean, up and down a little bit, but again, seeing that ask side fill there on a little wider bid-ask spread there. Could assume buyers, again, don't always 100% know, but looking at that net put premium, again, up, that call premium, leading bid side there. So again, that whale's down about 16%. See how that one turns out. We had VFC. So again, a little longer term one there. Pretty flat here. Not seeing much going on right now. They maybe hit about 62, so maybe about a little over 10% there from 54 to 62. Yeah, 14%, 15% maybe. Again, looks like that whale's still in there. Look at that net call premium. Huge spike on that day. Not seeing much yesterday. Something to definitely keep an eye on if you're still in that. And we had a KSS play as well. This one was posted after hours. This was actually one of our highlighted hottest contracts, which I had charts here, and this is one thing that I like to start doing now is kind of chart out some of the hottest contracts. Obviously, looking for that bounce here out of that zone, kind of post some flow here just so those can see that. But looks like this whale's still in here, and if you would have got in these yesterday, running from 47 to about 80, which is a good sign. But these did, when the flow did come in, did run 0.74 up to 93, a little over 20%. For those that could have took that. Then we had some long-term gold calls here. Gold. So coming in here, 6,700 contracts. Take a peek at this. $6,700. Obviously, that IV increasing here. Seeing that spot price being filled at that ask side there. Just all the way up. Just something I like to always watch is that spot price. Make sure it's staying towards that ask side. And when we looked at the net premiums, a little flat there actually. Interesting. But gold is good for long term with Fed rate cuts. So kind of the macro on that. So moving to yesterday, 829, little shorter day. So those gold calls actually, okay, we'll go back one more time, sorry. Hitting about 185 yesterday, 160 to 185, a little over 15%, still a good trade. So Apple, we had the 913, 42.5 call. And looks like this whale, 2,700. 2,747, yeah. Looks like they may have filled these at the bid because a lot of that volume from yesterday carrying over. But these did 121 up to about 132, maybe a tick under 10%. Again, little longer time frame there, and Apple has an event coming up. I'm going to assume they are trying to play that event. So we're about 10% break even-ish on those. Nvidia, again, longer term, 77 days here. Go back to yesterday, or I can go back one day. So yesterday they filled these at 930. Down a little bit on those. They're down about 18% on those, but again, longer time frame there. Now D low. So this one, it looks like we had 1,500 contracts there, about 2,000 there, so 3,500, and then just a little more. Looks like all that carried over into today. And kind of just looking at that flow again, you can see that IV staying up, IV staying up. Small drop there, but kind of tougher on that one, just with that little flow coming in after. But looking at these other candles, that jump in that IV right there, I like that. Nice jump there, and you're on that ask side there with that spot fill. And I mean, these did kind of make a good move. Intraday 64, they hit about 70. Should be up about 15%. Well, if you got that first alert, they were filled about 55, and average here would be about 61. So we'll go with the 61. So even if you got them at 61 and hit 70, that's about 14%. That is not horrible. So let's take a peek at these DG calls that came in. So it looks like this whale, again, 77 days, a little longer term. Let's look at the flow because this hasn't made a big move yet. 36.52 IV increasing. IV kind of decreases there, but again, you're on that ask side with that spot, which is a good sign. And this is still more towards the ask side, but I mean, you have that jump in that IV there. Would probably assume these are buys. DG tanked 32%. You'll probably see dip buyers come in within 77 days. So those, again, to be decided, and that... And we posted some flow for Dell, which we haven't opened up yet, so I can't post. But another fun earnings play for those that wanted that. But that is our flow recap for the week. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Again, if you are interested in the Unusual Whales back to school sale, you get 15% off when you sign up, 20% if you upgrade. If you want to join Stock Hub, all the alerts are in there. Everything will be in the description below. Have a great weekend, everyone.